Next, Russia and the United States ratcheting up confrontational rhetoric this Wednesday over a US surveillance drone that encountered Russian warplanes and then crashed near the Crimean Peninsula. This is countries pledged to try to avoid escalation. The Kremlin said the incident proved again that Washington is directly involved in the fighting in Ukraine and added that Moscow would try to recover the wreckage of the drone from the Black Sea. US officials said the incident showed Russia's aggressive and risky behavior. The US says it will continue to carry out surveillance. Russia's long voiced concern about US surveillance flights near its borders. The incident on Tuesday signaled Moscow's increasing readiness to raise the stakes amid soaring tensions between the two nuclear powers. Let's hear now from Lloyd Austin, US Defense Secretary.
I just got off the phone with my Russian counterpart, Minister Shoigu. And as I've said repeatedly, it's important that great powers be models of transparency and communication. And the United States will continue to fly and to operate wherever international law allows. And it is incumbent upon Russia to operate its military aircraft in a safe and professional manner.
Let's get the analysis. Marina Miron joins us, Research Fellow at the Defence Studies Department at the Centre for Military Ethics at King's College London. Thank you for being with us. We heard Lloyd Austin there talking about transparency and communication. One suspects he's talking about what the US does rather than Russia.
Well, thank you very much. Obviously, we see that this is not the first kind of incident that we have witnessed in terms of, an airplane entering the Black Sea airspace and where Russia is reacting the way it's reacting. And it must be said that Russia has violated international airspace of other countries as well. So what is interesting about this is the fact that the Russian side is having one story, because for Russia, and it has something to do with Russia's strategic culture and the way it perceives that it is in a conflict with the rest of the world, meaning the Western countries, the NATO countries, and the United States. So for Russia, even if it was in the international airspace, it is still a reason to be worried because it's in the proximity of Crimea, and because Crimea is such a prized territory for Russia where it has its fleet. It is important for Russia from that perspective to secure that there is no aircraft from NATO countries anywhere in the vicinity, especially when we're talking about MQ-9 Reaper drone, which can be equipped with Hellfire missiles. So it not only collects intelligence, it can also strike targets. And so from that perspective, this is what Russia is arguing, why it was necessary to do what has been done.
In terms of recovering the drone, a race on between Russia and the US to do that, do you think anything will be taken from that? Say, if Russia gets the drone first, will they have any advantage in what they can find on it, do you think?
Well, absolutely. It is a security threat for the United States and whoever operates Reaper drones, because the problem is that NATO ships cannot enter the Black Sea because President Erdogan said that because it is a war zone, nobody goes through the Bosphorus Strait. So that is a problem. The US cannot potentially get to the drone, and therefore the Russians will try to recover it. And probably they are doing it as we speak. Now, what that means is not only that possible evidence might be destroyed, but also there are broader ramifications because they can reverse engineer the technology that MQ-9 Reaper uses. They can share it with Iran, they can share it with China or North Korea. So essentially, they can both develop countermeasures and they could possibly knock off the drone. So from that perspective, it is not good if the Russians get their hands on the drone first.
As you're describing this, Marina, you're painting a picture of two different axes within the world here, and the sense that confrontation is growing, and the tension that goes with that, of course, growing as well. Where does this all leave Ukraine and the current crisis? Clearly, this has implications going forward.
Well, it is very difficult for Ukraine, especially as Ukraine now depends on Western help. And Ukraine is also suffering at the moment from manpower shortage and from shortage of capable officers. So, and we're seeing this broader Cold War scenario playing out where Russia is trying to use all the diplomatic power it has to coerce other countries or to build ties with it, as in the case of Syria, as in the case of Turkey. It tries to sow divisions amongst NATO members. So I think either way, Ukraine ends up to be in a very difficult situation where Russia is actually at war with NATO, not militarily so, even so Russians are considering it that way because of NATO's military help to Ukraine, but more in the diplomatic and geostrategic spectrum, because right now there are also other hotspots in the world which might overstretch NATO's capabilities. And I'm talking about the Arctic, for instance. There is a militarization of the Arctic going on. And so other countries will essentially have to deal with Russia. And therefore, the issue of Ukraine, even so we're seeing it on our TV screens, and it's very sad, but it can essentially move into the background. And that's a fear. What will happen to Ukraine? And will there be enough help from Western countries to ensure that Ukraine can achieve its military and political objectives? So the future of Ukraine here is under the big question mark.
Marina Miron, Research Fellow at the Defence Studies Department at the Centre for Military Ethics at King's College London. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your analysis with us here on France 24. Pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
And we, of course, watch for developments on that story.